and welcome to the Abundology podcast. My name is Renee Spears, and I'm here with Kat Eckrode, who is the owner of the Outdoor Adventure Kind. This is cool. I love your business. Your website is beautiful too, and I'll make sure I put the link in the comments so people can go check it out because it's really pretty with all the hiking pictures and outdoor pictures.
Thank you.
But you are an adventure coach. And you do workshops and guided hikes and different other activities to basically for beginners that are want to get out there and add more of that into their life.
Absolutely. And coming from that space myself and going through quite a turnaround in my own life through connecting with the outdoors,
Yeah.
it is absolutely my passion to see other people make that connection for themselves in the form of adventure that best fits for them. Just get out there and love it.
And love it, especially where we live. Oh my God, every day I'm so grateful that we live in a place where we can literally walk out our front door and have an adventure,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's so perfect in the Northwest.
So if somebody was interested in like hiking the Pacific Crest Trail or, would that be something that you could help with?
If they're at their beginning stages, they've got no to minimal hiking experience, and they're looking to build up from there, then I can absolutely help them get prepared for that. Now, Pacific Crest Trail, it's a huge 6-month endeavor. That's a great, fantastic goal to build up to, and I love helping to map out those kinds of plans.
Oh my God, how fun would that be? Just thinking about it, I'm excited, Just even doing a chunk that you could do like a chunk of it in Oregon or Washington or,
Absolutely. People do section hikes all the time, and there's all kinds of ways to break it up. So if a 6-month trip on the Pacific Crest Trail maybe seems a little much for you
little
today,
out there, yeah.
then there are all kinds of ways to break that up. There's a ton of different long stretches that you can do along the Pacific Crest or other amazing trails we have in the Northwest. And there's always things like climbing a mountain too.
Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. So many adventures.
So many.
Okay, so I heard through the grapevine that you have this fabulous story about manifesting and specifically about manifesting a puppy.
I do.
So that's why you're here today, because I've heard that the story is like amazing. So I can't wait to hear. So let me know. Tell us.
All right. So let me give you a little background so you can understand how this came to be.
Yeah.
Prior to March of this year, I already had 2 dogs, along with my partner, one of which is he's 13 going on 14. He's a little guy, not very outdoor adventurous. And then we have our adventure dog, Bailey. She's my pit bull mix that goes with me on so many of my adventures. And she's between 6 or 7. She's a rescue, so it's a guess.
Yeah.
And both of these dogs are very tightly bonded to me over my partner. And we've had Bailey for a few years now, and as my partner and I have done things with the dogs, he would comment pretty regularly about it. I love the dogs, it's great. I wish I had a dog that was more my dog.
Yeah, I understand.
So that I had that bond too.
Yeah.
And I totally understand because I love my tight bond with my 2. And we talked about later, down the road, what would that dog be? And I actually put some time and thought into, we would need another medium to large size dog. We both love pit bull mixes, so that would be great. Some kind of a rescue, and short hair because we prefer short haired dogs. Something with plenty of smarts. My little guy Taylor, although he's cute as can be, he has a tiny little brain.
It's funny how some dogs are really smarter than others. Yeah.
He can be quite tenacious, but he's not the wisest in his decision making.
I love it.
So, a smart dog is really important, and a dog that likes to play, wants to have that tight bond. Of course, it's important that this dog bonds more closely to my partner.
Yeah.
But one of the other challenges with finding another dog to add to our pack would have been finding a dog that gets along with Bailey, our rescued pit bull. She's very picky, with no real rhyme or reason after years of trying to figure it out, as far as which other dogs she gets along with. Size, age, gender, doesn't matter. Some of them she wants to meet right away, some of them she wants nothing to do with, and it can be a real pain. So thinking about trying to introduce another dog eventually down the road with all of these specifics, wouldn't it be great if this dog just landed in our lap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like anything in life, we want to just manifest it and think about it and take the easy route.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So March of this year, we're out in our yard, and we've been doing some early spring cleanup and have the 2 dogs outside. And my partner says to me, "What's Bailey looking at?" I don't know. I'm doing something over on this side. And I come around the corner and he goes, "Where'd that dog come from?" And we look across the street and there's this little brown dog we don't recognize standing in our neighbor's side yard just staring at us. I'm like, well, that's really weird. There's no one around. This little dog's just
whose dog
quietly
is
standing
this?
there. Exactly.
Yeah.
And we've been in our neighborhood for several years. We recognize the regulars.
Yes.
And so this wasn't a dog we recognize. There's no people around. And it's just really fixated on us. And Bailey's standing there wagging her tail looking across the street at this other dog. I'm like, well, that's weird. I'm going to go see what's up. It's really funny to me in hindsight, now knowing what I know, that as I'm leaving our fenced yard, my partner's going, "Be careful, it's a strange dog." As soon as I get over there, I realize this is a big puppy.
Oh.
And it has been tied to our neighbor's fence.
Oh.
Yeah. So, and with a short leash. It had about 2 feet of leash. And there was a kennel with a ripped open bag of puppy chow, a pet bed, a leash, a harness,
So
toys.
somebody just dumped it there?
Someone dumped her there and left her tied to our neighbor's fence, kind of behind a bush. And so we aren't really sure how long she was there.
Yeah.
Long enough to dig a small hole. But she was so excited when I came across the street. And she waited until I was within about 10 feet to really get excited and start jumping up and down. And I realized how tight the leash was tied. And so I holler back across the street. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, it's a puppy." He goes, "What are you talking about?" I said, "No, seriously, it's like a little puppy." And he comes across the street too, and the dog was excited to see me. This puppy lost her mind when my partner came across the street.
Oh my gosh.
So we're looking at each other just with this, what do we do?
Yeah.
Unspoken, what do we do back and forth? It's a warm day. We had kind of an early warm weather streak in spring of this year, and it was during that period. And she had no water, so he's like, "Well, let's put her in our yard, and we can figure it out from there." Okay, great. And he went back across the street, got Bailey and Taylor wrangled, put them in the house. I bring this strange puppy across the street, and we have a fully fenced yard, so we take her off the leash and let her run, and we're looking at each other, and the inkling is already there. And he looks at me and goes, "We don't need another dog." To which I say, "I know, but I'm looking at this puppy that is running circles around him and so excited, and just, there was no fear, there was no hesitation with this puppy. She just instantly acted like she was home." And in my head, I'm like, this is it. This dog isn't going anywhere. I knew it from the moment we let her off leash inside of our yard and watched how she reacted. But due diligence, so we kept her and the other two separate. She was about the same size height-wise as my old guy, Taylor.
Okay.
And so just for some scale for those who are listening to the podcast, about 14 inches at the shoulder.
Okay.
So
but she's still a puppy
but
now.
she's still a puppy.
Okay.
He's 13 years old.
Yeah.
And she's really skinny. Like, you can see her ribs more than you should. You can see her spine more than you should. And she's got some weight on top of him. So she's bigger weight-wise, but about the same height.
Yeah.
And we let him out because he gets along with pretty much everybody.
Yeah.
So we let him out, and they get along great. And we put the puppy back on a leash, and we put Bailey on a leash and let them introduce. And they're fine. Bailey's playing with the puppy. And it was a slow introduction. We didn't just let them go straight to roughhousing, but it didn't take long. And I just knew more and more, the more she interacted, this was
the puppy.
This was what.
And how interesting that Bailey saw the puppy initially, through the fence.
Mm-hmm.
You know, hey, that's my new brother, sister,
Right, sister.
my new sister over there.
Mm-hmm. So we did due diligence. You know, it was about 4:00 in the afternoon at this point.
Yeah.
And so we posted on the local Nextdoor app, for those who aren't familiar. It's like social media for your neighborhood, that we'd found this puppy with just a picture and no real deep description, but just in case maybe somebody had decided from half of a perspective they didn't want the puppy anymore, and the other half was maybe wondering.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was stolen and dumped.
That's a good question. Yeah, that could be. Yeah.
So we checked with local over the next couple of days. We took her to the vet the next morning, got her checked for a chip. No chip, not a surprise. Also had just a real quick check over. It's our normal vet for our other two dogs, so they did a quick look over for her, and they were able to tell us, she had all of her puppy teeth still, which placed her pretty squarely between 12 and 14 weeks old. She hadn't started to lose any yet.
She was a little puppy.
She was
oh my
little.
goodness.
They agreed that she was underweight. When they weighed her, she was about 28 pounds, and that was that was underweight at 12 to 14 weeks.
Yeah, wow.
She was in pretty good shape. You know, she was a little dirty from being outside. I'd given her a bath the night before, so she was a lot better, but like the insides of her ears were still kind of.
Yeah.
So they helped clean that up, and her nails have been recently trimmed. Like, this wasn't a puppy that was necessarily in a bad way before. The opinion of the vet was that maybe, and she was like, you put food in front of this puppy and it would vanish. She ate it so fast. I've never seen a dog eat as fast as this puppy did. So when I was talking with the vet, she's like, yeah, that sounds like maybe she was part of a bigger litter where you ate as fast as you can. Or you don't get your meal.
Good point.
So we did all our due diligence. No missing dogs that matched her description anywhere. She got along great with everybody. It took us less than a week to out loud verbally commit that yes, we're going to adopt this puppy. So things that I didn't think about. This is where I renamed her Ruby May. Usually it's just Ruby, but sometimes she needs a middle name. And there's a couple things that I didn't think about within having this puppy land in our lives. And this is why I call her my lesson in manifestation.
Oh, okay.
So about a week before we found her, I had been looking for desk rental space for my business outside of the home because it's hard to stay focused at home sometimes when you've got other living creatures that need your attention there. In the week in between where I found a space that I was interested in and went back to sign the lease on it is when Ruby May showed up.
Okay.
So she showed up and really cinched that, yes, I need to have this desk space outside of the home because with a puppy in the house, you can bet your bottom dollar that I'm not going to be able to focus on work.
Yeah, you're not going to get anything done.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I went in and I met my friend. I hadn't met her at this point, but I met Rachel at work when I went in to sign the lease on the space because she was there as well. And she went, oh my God, you manifested a puppy when I told her about it. And I'm like, oh my God, you're right, I did. Because I was just learning about this manifestation thing. I didn't know what I was up to. And as soon as she said that, I'm like, oh, I absolutely did. So I manifested this puppy right at the right time to also lock me into getting this desk space, which ended up having a lot of positive repercussions as far as growing my network, finding some great connections, some great new friends. It was fabulous. But on the flip side, Ruby's taught me a lot about really being intentional with your manifestation. What I didn't think about when I was picturing this dog that was going to come into our lives was timing. Yeah. And having her come in while we still had 2 dogs. I also have a 19-year-old cat at home.
Okay.
So we already have 2 geriatric pets, Bailey, and now we also have this puppy on the other end of the age spectrum.
Yeah.
That's a lot of activity.
It is.
I didn't really think through all of the work that was going to come from having a puppy when I was thinking about this beforehand. Obviously, once she showed up, we had that.
And that's fascinating because older dogs take so much extra attention. You know, they need help with, everything. And puppies have all this. So it's, oh my goodness, the work with your animals right then.
It's a lot of adjusting. And because she has grown so quickly, she's been a variety of challenges that range from how much she eats, how big she is, how much energy she has to burn. She's about 11 months old now. She's about mid-thigh on me. I haven't measured that out, but she's a pretty tall dog. She's pretty leggy. She's about 70 pounds and still growing. Every time I think she's done height-wise, she sprouts a little bit more. Yep. And you can just see in her posture that she's got room to bulk out still. She's still pretty slim on her frame. So she's going to be she's already a big dog. She's going to be a really big dog. And so on the one hand, she is exactly, as she comes into adulthood, the dog I was picturing. But I've learned so much along the way around really thinking about the before and after of the thing it is that you're manifesting. Not just that in the moment. If it's a thing that's going to have permanence in your life, think about that long term.
Right.
And she still thinks that my partner is the best human on the planet.
I love that.
I am chopped liver if he is around. And she's great with me, but he comes in the room and I might as well just leave.
Yeah. So being really specific when you're manifesting.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think that sometimes, when I work with people, I want to go to, Japan. I want to live in Japan. Wonderful. We can definitely get you there, and that could, be a goal of yours. But what about coming back to see your family for the holidays? And what about your schooling? And what about it,
Yeah.
And yes, that all that stuff is possible and real. But when you think about the ins and outs of it, you may not make that same choice. So, it might be nice to go spend 3 months in Japan and then
Right.
come back. Yes. Yes. Or to foster a dog. Not that you don't love your dog and it's a part of your family now.
Absolutely.
But to foster one for a while and see how it goes before you jump into committing to something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. She's a big commitment, and she's on the way to being a great dog. We've had lots of challenges with just her high energy level and the fact that we both work full time.
Yes.
Thankfully,
Any puppy. Yes.
any puppy, but thankfully we both have fairly flexible schedules. So we've been in a position where, and she's crate trained, which is wonderful. The other two never really took to crate training. She's perfect at it. I'm so thankful for that. It saves us so much, but she doesn't have to spend too long in there. I tend to leave a little later in the day. He gets home earlier in the day.
Yeah.
And we've got some flexibility in there as well, so we can make sure she's getting the energy burn that she desperately needs.
Yeah. So ahead of time, before the puppy came in, I know that you and your partner talked about it. Oh, I'd like a puppy that's mine. So what other things did you do that contributed to the manifesting of the puppy?
Absolutely. So I think the thing that stands out to me the most was that when I would be out walking Bailey, and sometimes Bailey and Taylor, whenever I'd be out walking her, I'd have that thought of, what's that other dog going to be? What's the other dog that's going to be on the leash with her going to be? And I actually would visualize, and I even had thought about, I mentioned this a little bit, it'd be great if this dog just kind of landed in our laps, but I had the thought more than once, wouldn't it be great if Bailey found the dog?
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't it be great
Wonderful.
if Bailey identified the pack mate that would be the right one for her? And because what I didn't want to go through was a series of getting our hopes up with finding dogs that might be a good fit when we got to that point and having that connection not work out.
Yeah.
So wouldn't it be great if it just worked out and Bailey found the other dog that was supposed to belong?
Well, a couple different things with that. One, that Bailey liked the dog, and then two, that the dog bonded with your partner.
Yeah.
Those are a couple really big things.
They're huge.
Yeah.
And if either one of those hadn't been the case, we probably would have made a different decision and rehomed her instead of keeping her.
Absolutely.
But those were my personal two biggest criteria, were that she needed to get along with Bailey. I wasn't worried about Taylor. He gets along with everybody.
Yeah.
And she needed to really bond to my partner. And
So I love that you were very, very clear to the universe about what I want. I want the puppy to get along with Bailey and bond with my partner. And I want the puppy to fall into our lap.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it? Because at any time, wouldn't it be nice? That's your manifesting, and you might as well go with ease. You can do the other one. Well, let's go to this, to the animal shelters and let's find the right one and let's bring it home. So much work.
It is.
Why don't we just go with the ease of manifesting? Well, I wanted to show up. It literally came with all of its stuff
literally.
to your front door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't, all that was missing was a bow, seriously. And it's terrible that somebody made that decision, but I'm so glad if somebody was going to leave her, they left her in such a good spot.
Yeah, no coincidences. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I love that. So, wonderful story. I just love how things work out and how easy they can be and the visualizing that you did also when you're on the walk. And, that's the key. So being clear about what you want and then the visualizing and then knowing it's going to show up.
Yeah.
Okay, this is happening. Now you were so good at it, it maybe happened sooner than,
Absolutely. It was a huge lesson. As soon as my friend Rachel said to me, "Oh my God, you manifested a puppy," I went, "Oh shit, you're right.
You're right."
And if I can do that, what else can I do? And so whenever since that realization, anytime I'm thinking about what is coming towards me from the universe, I know that it's possible because I've already done it once in a big way.
Yeah.
So I've got this proof currently at home, probably eating my couch, showing me anything is possible as long as you keep that focus. And I just need to remember to be really intentional.
Very good. Such a great story. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
For being here and sharing that with us. I have tears. It's so fun. And it's such a great way to show how easy manifesting can be. You know, you set your intention, you visualize, you expect it to show up, and it does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.